Welcome to Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm Jose.
I'm Mike.
So what did you think of The Hitman's Bodyguard?
I liked it. It made me laugh quite a lot, but I spent a lot of the time thinking about The Nice Guys, Shane Black. I kept thinking, oh, this is not as good as The Nice Guys.
But it was a lot more fun.
I disagree.
I won't argue with you because I like The Nice Guys. And there's no question that The Nice Guys is a much better film than this. But I think this is a really entertaining B-movie. It's the kind of movie that Luc Besson has done or has been involved with, because a lot of these he hasn't directed. It's almost like, they're too cheap for him to direct. But he's done a whole series, or he's been involved with a whole series of films, like the Transporter films and the French Taxi films, and I think also around the edges of the District 13 films, that actually this is a very good example of. So, these films basically are a whole series of jokes strung together around action sequences in a buddy-buddy film, often in a world that's kind of chaotic and unjust and kind of that's left to random chance and hazard, except that the heroes will always win at the end. So the only thing that these films, and they're really B films, have to offer in a way are the chase scenes, the action scenes, and the chemistry between the protagonists.
And I would say in this, the chase scenes bored me. The action scenes weren't that great for the most part. One of them was okay. And the chemistry between the leads, there was chemistry between the leads, and I've got to hand it to them. But I kept thinking, and I'll probably keep coming back to this thing about Shane Black, where Shane Black is the absolute king of this kind of film. He does it so well, and it's because in The Nice Guys, for instance, Russell Crowe and Ryan Gosling play characters, and in this, Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson play themselves.
Yes, but that's a given.
It's not that I don't like to see them as themselves, and I think they play it really well. Samuel L. Jackson in particular is kind of, I think it's like the version of Samuel L. Jackson that Snakes on the Plane wanted, that's constantly saying motherfucker, but actually has some self-awareness and comedy in it, which is what Snakes on the Plane did.
This is brilliantly funny. I mean, I think there's no question.
It's very funny.
I laughed aloud about 20 times or more, really. And I don't think that I don't think you can compare it to, in a way, So if last week we began with what does it all mean, or here there's no question that the films in a way are meaningless. They're not about conveying some theme or kind of illustrating some aspects of the human condition or anything. They're really just about the action and the jokes, right? So they really are B movies, and it looks very well produced. But I would be surprised if it were very
yeah. But I'm not saying
film.
that. I'm not saying that I wanted it to be more than that. I mean, when I talk about Shane Black and that I think I think that he does the kind of best version of these. He's still doing the best version of B movies, but he does them with a level of intelligence and creativity. Like when you get towards the action, towards the end of this film, the climactic action where there's various fights happening, and you eventually want the bad guys to win. I was thinking, this is all so very conventional. It wasn't good. The whole film, if it weren't for the jokes, I don't think the film would have very much to offer. It was when it got to the action, I thought, Shane Black, there would be creativity in this. I wouldn't know what's going to happen.
I don't know. I thought some of the action scenes were very well done, and they were creative, and they were certainly an attempt to make them creative, right? It was like, how far could you take a situation and take it from blow to blow to blow, where the person doesn't die, you think they're going to die, you think and it doesn't work. So actually, I was entertained by all of that throughout. So are you thinking, is it like a work of beauty, transcendental beauty? The action scenes? No, they're not. But they're very entertaining. I found them very good. I was not bored, really.
There was one action scene that I liked. maybe two. There was one action scene which I liked unequivocally, which was when Ryan Reynolds' character is complaining about Samuel L. Jackson. So he's sitting at a bar getting drunk, and in the background the action scene's happening.
Well, that was very funny.
That was very funny.
Yeah.
And it was well done. And the other one was the flashback to where Samuel L. Jackson meets his wife, Salma Hayek, in a bar. Although I did have a small problem with it. So in that scene, Samuel L. Jackson is in a bar in the middle of somewhere, and Salma Hayek is in Honduras.
Yeah.
Salma Hayek's a waitress, and she's being sexually harassed by some blokes in the bar. And before Samuel L. Jackson has a chance to get involved and help her out, or whatever, she turns around and starts thumping him and unleashes a torrent of incredibly vicious attacks on them.
Yeah.
And it's set to Hello by Lionel Richie. It's the scene where Samuel Jackson falls in love with that. And it's funny because the idea is that he falls in love with the level of violence that she's creating and this sort of thing. But there are two shots in it where in one shot she ends up bent over a pool table and the camera sits squarely on her ass. And in another shot towards the end, the camera does this leery pan up from her cleavage onto her face. And you go, those are the two shots which... It's almost like the director doesn't understand his own scene because Samuel L. Jackson isn't falling in love with the way she looks. He's falling in love with the fact that she's so ridiculously violent and self-possessed.
Yes.
It's like the director's gone, oh, we were so close.
No, I don't agree with you. I mean, I think that was all part of the way that the scene was drawn out. So, there was, all that you say was there, but I also think that you're seeing that, from his point of view, she looks fantastic. And she looks fantastic in a kind of an unconventional way. She looks fantastic the way a Latin woman does. It's not like, some kind of a stereotypical blonde, leggy person. So I think all of those things work together to
she does
combine.
look fantastic, but those two shots are really out of place in that scene.
Well, I don't agree. I think they're part of the picture. They're part of the design.
They're separate shots. You could look at any woman like that. It has nothing to do with what she's doing.
No, you can't, because actually I thought for a while that the lens was distorted. Like, she's got a big butt, and that's what he likes. And that's kind of part of what he's liking about her, including her ability to defend herself, her ability to make jokes, her ability to drink beer as she does it. It's part and parcel.
I disagree with you on this particular point.
Well, we can disagree. But
those two shots are out of place. Those two shots are leery, and they communicate the wrong thing.
Well, I don't think it's the wrong thing. I think it's.
I'm not saying that she's not.
It's part of what is being communicated, and it's being done with wit. So I liked all of that, and I liked.
The comedy in that scene comes from.
No, but you're over focusing on the comedy. I mean,
that scene. It's a funny scene. It's set up as a funny scene. It's the I'm falling in love with a woman
it's
scene.
A funny
but
movie.
It's not. I saw her cross a bar. It's she was beating the fuck out of these guys.
Yeah, but those things are not contradictory. And what I mean by saying that you're over focusing on the funny thing is because the film is an action film, and it's a B action film. I think there's no question about it, right? Like the way that it's kind of shot and it's designed, it's just like. It is choose characterization. The plot is a tiny little thing that you could hang all of these sequences on. So, we can agree on that. But then the question is, what does it have that works? And I think we need to talk about, or we have talked a little bit about, the action sequences. But I think it's important to talk about them as action sequences and not just whether they're funny or not. And I do think you're the action sequences that you like are the ones that are funny. But actually...
They're the only ones that show any sense of creativity.
To you!
The others were so fun to me.
Well, to you. I mean, kind of, I think if you look at them as scenes that are meant to kind of convey excitement, or even wit, I think they work. I mean, I don't want to make any great claims for them. They're not the greatest kind of action sequences in the world. They're not by any means, the equivalent of the parkour sequences in District 13 or anything like that, which are, I think, works of beauty. But they're exciting and they work. And I think the center of this film really is, and you're right, they're not giving characters to play, they're giving outlines to play. So, to talk about these characters in psychological terms, like there's no point because they don't have any psychology.
Yeah.
It's really just kind of like a plot point. But what they do have, what the actors have, is I think they're giving great lines. You know, the Home Alone thing was very funny. I wondered if that was improvised actually.
Could be.
And also, I think for Ryan Reynolds, it's really interesting because he's developing the star persona that he really began to kind of put a stake in Deadpool. So if you don't like him in Deadpool, you probably won't like him in this very much.
No, they are playing, like I say, they are playing themselves essentially. What I mean by that is they're playing the kind of because they're stars, they come with a level of expectation.
Yes.
Of the kind of people that they play, the kind of characters, and that's exactly what they've been asked to play. They haven't been asked to do anything different.
Yes, but I think it's also worth admiring what these stars bring.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that's a bad thing necessarily. If you like what those stars are, then you like the film. If you don't, then you probably won't.
Well, and if you don't, you're missing out, because I think actually there's great technique and immense pleasure to be had out of watching Samuel Jackson. You know, you can learn a lot about acting by watching him, because actually he makes things funny that are not there. Mm. You know, he changes the tone of voice. You know, he pronounces one word over another, and he makes something funny.
Yeah.
You know, that isn't there at all. So I think kind of, you know, one of the reasons why the film for me was such a pleasure to watch is because, you know, Ryan Reynolds is getting better at his shtick. I thought he was very good. You know,
yeah,
and then Samuel L. Jackson was just great at doing what he always does, what he's the master of doing, actually. You know, and then together they were great. You know, so actually it was their interaction, which is the movie, was more than the sum of their parts. And
yeah, but it took me a while to tune into it, I think, because I don't know what I expected. I didn't know anything about the film before.
Well, I think you went because of it had Birmingham and Coventry locations. That was that was your reason for going.
I saw on Twitter that the film goes to Coventry, and I thought, okay, well, I want to see this. I didn't know anything else about it, and it took me a while to tune into to the main characters, because Ryan Reynolds is just a very slightly acquired taste for me, and I think, okay, he's doing his thing, and it took me 20 minutes to go, I have to accept this. Mm. And the same with Samuel L. Jackson. As much as I like Samuel L. Jackson, I would really... he so rarely plays a different character.
Yes.
It's basically only in Tarantino films that he's given anything different to do, I think.
I'm not even sure. I actually think that Tarantino's what made him a star.
Yes,
and actually,
but if you look, when you look at Stephen, the character of Stephen in Django Unchained, that's such a different...
true.
And I think actually he should have won the Oscar for that.
No.
I think probably Christoph Waltz did, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure.
But anyway, but again, it's the kind of... It took me a while to go, Samuel L. Jackson's playing himself, and then 20, 30 minutes into it, I'm like, okay, I'm finally in tune with this, I'm quite enjoying it.
The audience reaction was very interesting, because I would say, you know, that there was about half of the audience that was in tune with it, right? Because it is very crude filmmaking. There's no question about it, right? But then I think there were, you know, about half of the audience was like me, who was really like gleefully interacting with the film, who were getting all the jokes that it was making and laughing out loud, you know. And then there was a portion of the audience for whom this was just like a cheap film.
Yeah.
Do you have any views about these Luc Besson films? Because they are... You know,
I haven't seen too many of them. I've seen this. I mean, we should say this film isn't anything to do with Luc Besson. That's just a comparison you're drawing.
Yes, that's right.
Luc Besson. I've seen bits and pieces of the Transporter films. The one I'm most familiar with is Lucy.
Right.
Which I think is great. Oh, pizza.
Excellent. Put it on pause. Let's check how much the film made. How much it cost.
Okay. Production budget $30 million.
So really cheap.
Worldwide gross $23 million. That's in 3 days.
Well, that's really good.
Actually, 5 days. But
so that's really good. So it's made back.
Foreign hasn't been. It looks like the figures haven't been updated entirely. It'll make more than $30 million. Yeah, it'll make some money. It's got 2 big stars, isn't it? We should say what it's about. We haven't said, well, what's the,
Yeah, that's right. So, so what is it about, Mike?
Oh, what is it about? Well, indeed, what?
Yeah.
It's about this bodyguard who has to bodyguard a hitman. Samuel L. Jackson is this hitman, this assassin who's been doing it for donkey's years, and he's killed 250 people or something. And he is a witness in this trial at The Hague against Gary Oldman, who plays anonymous Belarusian foreign dictator, who's done war crimes and that, and genocided his people, as you do, with a Russian accent. So he needs to get to The Hague within about a day, and Gary Oldman's people are trying to kill him. Meanwhile, you've got Interpol was supposed to be protecting him, trying to get him there, but Interpol they've got a mole, they've all gone wrong, they're not around, they're ambushed in Coventry, and it falls to Ryan Reynolds, who's a bodyguard, to protect your man Samuel L. Jackson, who doesn't really need any protection because he's such a brilliant hitman, and also they've got a history because
we don't know that history until the end.
No, we know it reasonably early on. He says when they meet, Ryan Reynolds says he's tried to kill me 27 times.
Okay,
because he's constantly because historically Ryan Reynolds has been protecting the people that Samuel L. Jackson has been hired to assassinate.
Yes. Okay. Fine. I think this is a simpler way of seeing it. So basically, you have two couples. One of them is bad, but it's really good. But they're really good, and it's Salma Hayek and Samuel L. Jackson. And the other one are on the right side of the law, and it's Ryan Reynolds and this actress whose name I can't remember, but who plays Electra in The Defenders.
Elodie Young.
Olivia Young?
Elodie
Young.
Elodie Young.
Yeah. Who plays...
I definitely recognise her from something else. Excuse me. She's in The Defenders, she's Daredevil. Or she plays Electra rather in Daredevil. Gods of Egypt.
Gods of Egypt, I should know her from that. Yes, I've seen that.
That would be the only thing I recognise her from.
Okay, well, she made an impression.
Or I just think she's someone else. Oh, no, yeah, I do recognise her.
Anyway, I think she's quite good. But basically, you have two couples, they're both know how to fight and handle weapons. One of them is on the wrong side of the law, but basically, kind of, the film ends up showing us that they're the same. There's got kind of interesting structural oppositions, so Ryan Reynolds has broken up with the love of his life. The love of Samuel Jackson's life is in a prison cell and he can't get near her. So actually, kind of, that's part of, the way that the plot balances itself out and kind of moves forward. But
the couple that's on the wrong side of the law is essentially emotionally healthy and love each other, and the couple that's on the right side of the law doesn't know how to. Do they love each other? Don't they? They're at odds.
Well, that's right. But the love affair that is working is nonetheless out of reach because, they're both in jail, in separate jails at the beginning of the film. I mean, my big question around this film is Gary Oldman a whore? Why did he take this role?
Because he's a working actor, and you don't have to try that hard in this role, do you?
You don't have to try at all. No. You don't have to do anything. I mean, it's kind of...
You have to grow a snazzy little goatee. He looks just like Dana Carvey.
It's such a trash role,
and it's a nothing villain. I mean...
Yeah.
It's totally forgettable. It's not the point of the film.
No, not at all. I mean, because you can imagine how playing villains like that would be great fun. But, the part offers him nothing. Certainly the film offers him nothing. Yeah. So... If
they got McConaughey from The Dark Tower...
He would have been fantastic.
Wow, that's a film.
Well, I think Gary Oldman, had he tried to do something with it, could have been fantastic. But you get the feeling that he's an actor who's not even trying anymore, really. I mean, what's the last role you remember him in? What's the last role that made an impact on you?
Probably Commissioner Gordon from The Dark Knight. Let me just have a look. Gary Oldman, see what he's done of recent times. He was in Tinker Tailor, wasn't he? That was a bit different. It was a character, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a character. And actually, I remember him being good in it, but actually I can't remember him.
He was in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but I don't remember him at all.
Yes, there you go. Keep going.
He would have been the villain in that as well, wouldn't he? Probably. RoboCop I didn't see.
I saw it, I can't remember him either.
The Dark Knight, that's Commissioner Gordon. Lawless, don't remember him in that. Tinker Tailor plays Smiley. Plays Sirius in Harry Potter. That's a character, that's a good character, actually.
Yes.
He plays that well.
Yes, so he's doing memorable bit parts, and phoning it in elsewhere.
Carnegie in The Book of Eli, which was a film I really liked and no one else did. But he's no good in that either. He's just your rent-a-kit villain.
I think it's kind of, really interesting to see.
Because he can be so good. It's not like he's rubbish.
Yeah.
He's a little bit sort of, I don't want to say technical, but kind of, I think he's one of those actors who sometimes thinks that, like, if you lose a lot of weight for a performance, that's the same as actually acting.
No, I don't think so. I don't see him that way. I think he's a really great actor. My God, I remember him from Sid and Nancy. So he's certainly kind of, capable of, like, great work. But I think at some point he just kind of went Hollywood, and basically it is like a paycheck. But, it's a paycheck for someone who doesn't need paychecks, really,
Well,
so...
you don't know his life.
Well,
he might have gambling debts.
He might very well have gambling debts. Okay, imagine, kind of... imagine if that's the case.
Yeah. Let's face it, he takes roles like an actor who has gambling debts to pay off.
That's a good way of putting it, or, like a whore who wants to make lots of money quick without having to work for it.
It's a little bit of a whore.
We must erase that, by the way.
What?
What I just said.
Why? You think Gary Oldman's going to sue you?
No, I don't think that he's going to sue me, but actually I have more...
He seems like the kind of guy who would sue.
I have more respect for, people who prostitute themselves, for money, for sex for money, than I do, for a film star who lives in Hollywood and has a Hollywood lifestyle, and who does this kind of dreck.
How do you know what his lifestyle is?
Because I read the magazines.
See, I...
Anyway.
Well, let's move on from Gary Oldman.
Yes. Anyway, I think what we found out that's interesting is that it is a really low-budget film, certainly by contemporary standards. It's a $30 million film, right?
Yeah. You can make 7 of these films for one Neymar.
There you go. Or, you can make... what, 30? No. How much did Wonder Woman cost?
Oh, I don't know.
I think it was being bandied around 250, 300 million, right?
But it was better.
Oh, yeah.
149 million.
Oh, that's cheap. How much did Dunkirk cost?
Oh, Jesus. What, in lives? Or? Dunkirk cost 100 million.
No way.
$100 million.
Really? That's
very cheap. Do you know the thing about, have you seen the thing, Christian Nolan's fee on Dunkirk? It's $20 million plus 20% of the box office gross. Gross.
My God.
And it's made so far $400 million. So even not counting the $20 million he just got paid, he's earned, what's 20% of 400? 80 million. $80
so
million.
He's made $100 million.
He's made $100 million.
Yeah.
He's a war profiteer.
Well,
he should be in The Hague, frankly.
It's interesting. I wonder what Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson were paid, because I bet.
Well, I'm not googling anymore for now.
No, but I bet you their salaries
were most of it.
Were most of that budget, and the film looked good. It didn't look like it didn't look like a cheap film.
No, it didn't look expensive.
It didn't look expensive.
It didn't look cheap.
But Anyway, I enjoyed it. It's kind of, again, this is kind of where the dilemma is. I can imagine if people have to pay whatever it is you have to pay to go to the cinema now. Is it, what, £9 or 10 or something?
Yeah, whatever. I mean, well, when you have the unlimited card, obviously the more films you see, the lower the nominal cost.
Yeah.
So it actually encourages you to...
So we never think about how much it costs to go.
No, not really.
It is a film, I think, that would work just as well on television, though.
Yeah, for the most part. Or it's a kind of film where, when it shows up on TV, like 90% of it will translate and you'll watch it very happily.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I do, because actually there were some of the close-ups with Ryan Reynolds that I thought were significant, that you were seeing it on a big screen, kind of. There were moments where he was talking and, his face was just so huge that kind of had an impact on how you were seeing, actually.
But that also is something that will translate well to television.
I'm not sure.
Well, I mean...
this is a question of size. It's not just a close-up.
Okay.
But anyway,
right.
I think the point that we can agree on is that the film will look really good on TV. You won't lose much. And it's the kind of thing that relies on dialogue and just plot, that translates absolutely well onto film.
And it's when it's doing the dialogue stuff that it's at its strongest.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
So
and it's the interplay of those two actors and those two characters and the way one is, it's fairly simple. One is exasperated at the other, and the other is not taking anything that seriously and laughing at him all the time. There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it works quite well.
It works very well. So the question then is, would you recommend it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But see, I thought it was great fun.
It is fun.
I mean, I think it was like cheap fun, but it was fun. And if you like the actors, I think you'd have a really good time.
I got into it eventually.
No.
Although there were no parts of Coventry that I recognised. I mean, not that I ever really went into the centre of Coventry when I was living there, but they could have at least shown the ring road. The ring road's iconic.
It's true. Anyway.
And actually, I mean, it's annoying that they go to Coventry at all, because the whole point, the premise is, he's in Manchester and they're transporting him to Amsterdam.
Yes.
So why are they going through Coventry? Just go on the motorway. That's annoying. That wound me up.
Only a petrolhead would know that, really. I wouldn't know that.
Well, it's obvious. Why'd you go through Coventry?
They're hiding. They want to
They
want to go someplace where no one will look for them.
Well, it's because the mole sent them there. The mole said go through Coventry, and then because he set up the ambush, hasn't he? But actually, there's no good reason.
Well,
you could fly from Manchester, probably. It's a silly. It's actually, I don't like the film. Terrible premise.
I think we better leave it on that note, actually. Kind of.
Yeah. I'm still right about that scene in the bar.